For example, in 2016 or even the preceding years, if I was earning, let's say, 2K, as in 2,000 Ghana Cedi, let me look at what that 2K would be able to do as a young man, maybe who is out of school from university, making some small coins. 2K, let's say 2K or 1,005 or whatever figure you would want to put there. And I'm looking at the value of that same amount today and what I can be able to do. These are the conversations that we young men are having. Yeah. You leave school, you can't get a job. You need to know somebody before you and even these days, the people who you know, they also have to know somebody before they can get you a job. These are the conversations we are having every day. We can't pay for rent. The other day, someone was telling me that when we wake up in the morning, we used to go and hustle for our daily bread. But these days, the bread is more than the hustle. You know why? Because the cheapest you can get for a loaf of bread today is about 20-25 Ghana. The minimum wage in Ghana is less than 20 Ghana. These are the conversations people are having. And I'm sure you are not an exception.
Yeah. I think these are the harsh economic realities underpinning our current economic situation that we have at hand. And when you walk through the street of this country, what I can say is the streets of Ghana are paved with hopelessness and desperation, and that is a fact. And if you look at the economic environment, what is apparent is desperation, this veil of hopelessness, young people looking for a way out of the situation we find ourselves in. But unfortunately, there seems to be no redemptive alternative aside change, because we've been asking since 2016 for certain intervention to be put in place to ensure that we're able to salvage ourselves out of the situation. But it does appear we are not a priority of power wealthers in this country. And
when you say we, you mean the youth?
Yes, young people, we are not. And that is quite very, very shocking, because youth unemployment has assumed a certain pace of, I don't know, it has assumed a particular pace. It is going up, rising at a lightning speed, and you expect that government will come out with a certain intervention to remedy the situation, because youth unemployment anywhere threatens national security, and that is a fact. It threatens our democracy and it threatens our sustainability. And in recent times, if I'm to add this, what happened recently in the North Africa during the Arab Spring, it came as a result of youth unemployment. People were protesting. So when Bouazizi set himself ablaze, you know what happened? It triggered a wave of violent protestation in the whole of North Africa and Middle East. That eventually led to the ousting of about 3 presidents. At the end of the day, Ben Ali got ousted
in Tunisia.
Hosni Mubarak got ousted
in Egypt.
On the 20th of October, Gaddafi was killed. Yemen, the president was deposed and his deputy took over. It spread over to, Middle East, to the extent that Bashar Assad and several other people got their fair share. It tells you that youth unemployment poses a threat to our national security and to our sustainability. So if you're government, you must be very much concerned about doing things to ensure you remedy the situation. But in our situation, that is not the case, because you begin to wonder why a continent that is blessed with youthful population. Because I can sit here and tell you that if you look at all the resources that a country can boast of, the most valuable is the human resource, the human potential. Each and every one is endowed with certain potential. So as a government, it is your job to create a certain enabling environment that can potentiate these individual potentials. Then you leverage these potentials for a national takeoff. But what do we see today? Most of our young people are being shifted overseas. America is desperate. Germany is desperate, looking for young, energetic people to come and work for them. But unfortunately, we have these people in abundance here, but we are not putting them to good use.
Because there are no opportunities.
Yeah, and the government is supposed to provide these opportunities for them. Because you see, like I said, everybody, one way or the other, is endowed with something. People may not have the potential, the opportunity to be able to unearth or bring some of these into, but government have the power to do that. But what are we doing to ensure we unearth? Because it will take the collective effort of us all to build the country. You cannot rely on the expertise of few people who call themselves politicians and say you rely on the expertise. No, it will take the collective might and the collective effort of us all to be able to build this particular country. So as government, what are the interventions you're putting in place to ensure you tap into these unlimited or infinite human potentials in these people? We are not doing anything apart from these lofty political promises where people will come and tell you, hey, putting up, how do you call it, hostels at Kumasi for Kayaye people. This is absolute nonsense, because you see, you know very well that Kayaye is a byproduct of a staggering unemployment situation, and you're supposed to solve the unemployment. You know, you're not supposed to provide a safe haven for them to do Kayaye, because it will not end anywhere. But these are some of the promises. And
to be fair, they are giving other opportunities as well, learning the trade and all of that. you don't think that is enough?
You see, these are political propaganda. In the end, we want to see viable enterprises that has been set for these young people, and you know there is something substantial that you can speak to. We wrote up this intervention, and at the end of it, these are the outcomes. Beyond the political propaganda and the political rhetoric that people speak on political platform, when you have spin doctors trying to turn the narrative to make the whole thing look like good, the reality underpinning the kind of situation we find ourselves is that there is absolutely nothing beyond the politics. So I think we really need to be committed to the situation we find ourselves in. We have young people with a lot of talent. What can we do to set a stage for them to at least have something doing? Because if you get out there, look at the way our manner government elsewhere have been able to put people to good use, because we are in our prime age. You need to put them to good use. In America, if you go, the American economy is a debt economy. Everybody is in debt. It doesn't matter who you are. Either you are paying mortgages, car loan, or you can think of any other thing. So constantly you're being forced to work to be able to pay. So you cannot live in America and say, for this month I'm not going to job. You can't pay for your expenses. So once we are able to provide some of these job opportunities for people, at the end of the day, some of these promises, like our in recent time, Dr. Bawumia made a promise that they were going to rent for young people. And I'm saying that young people in this country are not beggars. They don't need government to rent for them. Provide them the job opportunities. When they work, they can pay for their rent and other stuff. So these are the real conversations that we must activate in this country, and realize that if we fail to do these things, we are endangering the prospect of our democracy.
Is that not what we're discussing on this platform, where we are activating these conversations with people who are in the position of power and influence?
Yes.
And here I'm making reference to Ibrahim and Loyala and Jonathan's political party and the MPP, with the greatest of respect to the other political parties,
yes.
because the figures do not lie. The possibility of they coming into power is relatively limited compared to the umbrella and the elephant, and what they have been able to do when they have been in power. Has it not been more of rhetorics than actions?
Yes, I was telling somebody yesterday that, you see, when you are in opposition, you have all the brilliant ideas, but in Ghana, the power, the version of African power is such that it has a way of sucking common sense from the heads of our people. When you are sitting on the sidelines, come on, brilliant.
You have time to think.
Exactly. So when you get in,
there's no time to think.
Arrogance get a better part of you, and you forget about the promises and stuff. You present yourself like a king, a lord who must be worshipped. At that time, he is no longer serving the people. And that is the kind of mentality that we need to change. That is why I've always been advocating for an enlightened citizens. Because you see, if this country will move forward, it will depend on the kind of citizens that we have. People sit and normally they make argument that, oh, we are here because of NDC and MPP, and until we remove them, we cannot move forward. That argument is absolute. I don't want to use certain word.
For you, it's flawed.
Yes. Because you see, it's the same people, the same psyche, the same mentality. We, the people, need to force this institution to do the right thing. Because if you go to the United States of America, it's two political parties. If you go to UK, it's the same thing. But because politicians up there know they are dealing with enlightened class of people, there are certain decisions that you will not. But if we present ourselves as an emotional candidate, very gullible people, we are just chanting and singing hallelujah choruses all in the name of active partisan politics, and on the day people will take you for granted. So partisan activism has taken the center stage.
How do we evolve?
We need to elevate.
We
need to elevate the conversation beyond the frontiers of partisan politics.
How?
By becoming more Ghanaian than being a politician. You see,
we're suggesting that it is the interest of the political parties rather than the interest of Ghanaians.
Exactly. You see, we talk about political party manifestos and co. You see, political parties always might want to put out certain manifesto. You see, but if you go to the United States,
like Loyala and this party will be doing today, you will tell us something about their youthful plans.
Exactly. So the key thing is whether that particular manifesto promise feed into the larger national agenda the aspirations of the people, that is another argument that we can have. If you go to America, for instance, whoever become president, you might not have the power to change the machineries that run American economy. If American president today, the area you have the overwhelming influence to do a lot of changes has to do with foreign policy. But the machineries that runs American economy, businesses and stuff, you cannot have that particular power because they have set in such a way that they have a certain foresight.
The in motion.
Exactly. 20 years development plan, 30 years development plan. They know where they are going. Ask yourself, do we know where we are going as a country? No. So political party and people will come today, present certain, whether myopic or whatever policies, then once they get off power, another political party comes and then they veer off. At the end of the day, monies that are being thrown down the drain belongs to you and I. Because no political party comes to power with money. It is our money.
Let me get lawyer into the of what Pablo and his team are going to be doing there. And then later this afternoon as well, you have another program at the Book Unboxing Arena with His Excellency former President John Dramani Mahama, who will be there to touch base with that one as well. Let me get Innocent into the conversation before I get Jonathan in as well. Innocent, again, brilliant lecture by Lawyer La. Fantastic lecture. Speaks well, very eloquent, understands the issues, pretty much on top of all of that. But then again, he talks about all of these opportunities that will be created for us, granted the people of Ghana decide to have a look at the NDC. I always love the book. They say everything is in the book. So the things that you say, I go back to your history and I look at when you had the opportunity and what you were able to do. Of course, we don't know how the election will go on the December the 7th and whether the NDC will be given the opportunity. But what I want, the same things that he's pronounced.
Yeah.
I want to leave the university and get a job. And I don't have to know Innocence. Yeah. For Innocent to know Jonathan. Yeah. For Jonathan to know someone. Before I have to go through Innocent, go through Jonathan, and go through the third person to get a job. I want to let my certificate do my talking for me. I want to see opportunities. If I'm a young man and I believe in entrepreneurship, I want to walk into a bank, present a proposal, and the bank will be confident to look at it for me. And all the others that he added. Do we have that kind of environment here?
Yes, I think that is what we are advocating for, because I can sit here and say in recent times young people in this country have been held hostage to finance the fantasies of people we entrust political power to. And in recent times you've seen a pushback in Africa. You see, we are sitting on the powder keg. Look at the violent revolution that is setting up across Africa. It started in Kenya, now it's in Nigeria. Some of these things have bushfire effect. If we don't stop it, if we don't remedy the situation, things will get out of hand. And that is what we need to focus and remedy this particular situation. Yes, we're talking about youth unemployment. I think the problem is very
that's what you and I want, opportunities.
Exactly. So I'm looking at the situation where we will set a stage. You see, people talk about a lot of stuff, but where I sit, the only way out of this particular thing is we need to set up a massive stage for agri takeoff, and then we pin it to industrialization.
You don't like planting for food and jobs?
Come on, that was a mere political slogan.
No, I'm only asking.
You see, we need to be very serious and commit to these two huge enterprises, agri and then industrialization. That is what is going to facilitate the rest of the things that people talk about. For instance, the 24-hour economy and stuff. Because if there are no job opportunities, you can't run on the clock. You understand? So we need to, and we have a lot of young people, the energy. You see a lot of people coming out of the university, sitting home, and they tell you they don't have anything to do. Go to Vietnam today, a country that is coming from the ashes of war. Today, it has become one of the global giants in terms of economy, because they are growing rice, they are importing furniture and stuff. All these things are things we can do here. So we need to emulate some of these new innovations. Are not new. It's been there.
What is holding us back? What is holding us back?
It's a real commitment. And people we entrust political power into their hands. Most of them are not leaders. We give power to politicians who come just to look for money. At the end of the day, they leave the problems the way they came to meet it. So we really need to get people to do some of these things as people, as stakeholders, as people who are advocating for right thing to be done. For instance, if you go to the north, look at the vast land we have there. Young people coming out of the university. How do government incentivize young people to go into rice farming at a very larger scale? Today, you don't need cutlasses and knives to go and farm. government need to provide the machinery. So young people will not be descending from the north, come all the way to Kumasi to do kaya here when these viable enterprises are there for them to do. So once we are able to do some of these things, then you link it to industrialization for a very effective economic takeoff. Because you see, one thing we are not learning is that China used to be a very poor country. It got to a point they realized that we have the numbers. We have the numbers more than any other country. So how do we leverage our numbers for economic takeoff? They sat down, planned, and strategically look at where they are today. Because where we sit today, when our currency loses value, we cry. But in China, it was a strategy. They deliberately devalued the Chinese yuan as against the US dollar to be able to make it a disincentive for an average Chinese person to have a taste for foreign goods. So look at Huawei, look at some of these tech companies that they set up. Today they've become a competitive force. So we have to leverage our numbers, the advantage. When I started this conversation, I told you we have a lot of young folks in this country. And we form the largest chunk of our population. How are we leveraging, taking advantage of this youthful population? Agric, people can go into it. So people coming out of the university, if they are not getting white collar job to do, motivate them, incentivize them, go into this particular arena. Then you support it with industry. At the end of the day, you create a viable market here, both internal and external. You can export. At the end of the day, you'll be earning something. We live in a country where we just speak to issues like taking $500 million to go to countries like Vietnam, China to buy rice. We import some of these things when we can actually provide them here. So you see, it's not just about talking lofty. It's not just about making unrealistic political promises. It is about making real commitment that we can make it here and make it work. And this is the kind of comment or kind of argument you don't hear from most of our politicians. So people, yesterday I was telling somebody that if you look at things like teaching, policing, and another one has to do with is it hospital? Yes, healthcare. These enterprises do not grow economy because in the economic sense they provide third party services.
The teaching will provide the knowledge for the young man, the young woman.
Exactly. So
and a young man or young man will build on that. You don't think it's important?
Exactly. No. I'm saying they provide third party economic services because when a government tells that I've employed 1,000 teachers, I've employed 1,000 doctors, they are not meant to grow the economy because teachers are there to equip the working force with knowledge, the expertise that is needed to do the work. The health service providers are there to ensure the workforce are fit. The police is there to provide security for the workforce. So you see, central to all this thing is the workforce. So how do we turn or put this workforce to good use? And that is what we are lacking. So we rather focus on the third party services like, we have employed 1,000 doctors, we have employed 1,000 nurses, but they do not grow economy. Their work is to provide those third party services to this workforce to be able to provide us what we need. That is industrialization, agric, and other stuff. If you go to America, America is America today because of industries. UK is UK today because of industries. Our people who live here to go seek greener pastures and stuff, they work overnight. Why? Because the jobs are available and most of them work in how do you call it? They work in factories, they work in industrial areas and other stuff. All because of some of these things. So why can't we replicate same here? Not that we can, but there is this inertia, there is this reluctance, there is this unwillingness on the part of our politicians. Because you see, the average Ghanaian politicians see the people as tools, mere commodities, tools to be used for political power. But when they can use you as an instrument to achieve power, they will not equip you, elevate you to a point where you become economically self-sufficient, because the person knows that if you become self-sufficient, next time when the call is placed on you, you will not come. So poverty has become a tool that people are using to control the population. And I think at this point, the last time I told you, information is quite available. Young people are becoming enlightened. People can read far and wide. It's easy to sit here and do comparison. Tech advances, people are taking advantage. We need to demand more, move beyond partisan politics and demand from people. These are things that can be done to salvage the situation. It's not as if we can, but the real commitment is not there. You listen to most of our
commitment from the political leaders.
Exactly.
Okay. Let me get Jonathan into the conversation.